limitation of constituencies, which they failed to do. But at least on this one, they've started today. It is a big deal. But concerns have been recorded, and it's been recorded on the front page of the People Daily this morning, where they ask a question on whether the apathy among Kenyan youth will affect this registration exercise or even the impact of the election in 2027. The editorial commentary on the Standard is also raising similar issues. The fact that Kenyan youth appear a bit apathetic towards registering as voters. Do you share the same concerns, Waziri? And do you feel that probably what we saw last year with the reawakening, or what we may have called the reawakening of the Kenyan youth politically, that probably it is not as real as we thought?
Well, before I deal with the issue of voter registration, allow me also to register my concern about the road accidents that have taken place, more so the one that we've lost 13 people between Nakuru and Nairobi. And also pass condolences to the families and those who are affected by the same. And I wish that drivers be careful as we go towards Christmas. It's a situation that really leaves families bereaved and also lost the loved ones. Now, when it comes to the issue of voter registration, it may be too early for us to make conclusion that the young people may not be concerned about the need to register. Some people just want to act tough, because somebody cannot say there is no candidate. There are many Kenyans who are good. They may not be a candidate of your choice at the national level, but the other levels, member of parliament, you are governor, you are senator, you are MCA, and so forth. So it is important that you have the tool in anticipation for making a choice, whatever time. You know, at times, even last minute, some candidates emerge and you realize this is the best person that Kenyans need to have, or your locality may need to have. Number two, I also wish that the government does not stifle the effort, not only in terms of registration, but the state of preparedness by IEBC, by ensuring that there are adequate resources for purposes of meeting their mandate. Unfortunately, we seem to have that kind of seesaw, either through frustration by the Treasury not having adequate resources for that purpose, but there is nothing as important as an election. And it is not too much. And this is something that I feel we should not even be allowing other people to say, we are chipping in to assist you go through your elections, because the amount that is required may be 40 billion or so, and yet our budget is about 4 trillion. What we need to do is to ensure that this process is done by Kenyans using our own resources, and we improve on the issue of integrity and trust among the people of this country. So I still have that hope that Kenyans will roll over their effort. Instead of just protesting, this is an opportunity for you to make a difference come the next 2 years.
Okay. Kathy, do you understand this level of apathy? We saw it was young Kenyans who were really politically charged last year, but the feeling now is that they're a bit apathetic. Do you understand that switch?
Yeah, I think it's too early to preempt. Because, I mean, the process has just started, and we cannot say that perhaps people will not come out to register or even come out to vote, you know, in the upcoming general election, which is almost 2 years from today. That's a long period, you know, when you look at it, and you know how many things or how things evolve in this country, politically speaking. But then if you look at the general election of 2022 and how people voted, because again, numbers don't lie. We going by the statistics and going by the numbers that IEBC announced eventually, President Ruto won by 7.1 million votes. Raila Odinga, who was the next candidate, got 6.9. And then we have another over 6 million people who didn't vote. And I think when we talk about voter apathy, that was very serious. And I have had an opportunity to interact with our young people, and I believe a huge number. When we talk about the 6 million, I think it was 6.4 or something. who didn't come out to vote were actually the young people. Those young people are the group that came out to agitate for change. They're the people who came out last year and this year to tell us that they want this country to be governed differently. So I do not expect there to be apathy when it comes to the actual voting, because these are people who have already spoken and spoken very clearly way before 2027. We need to, I think, to promote this voter registration even more, so that our young people who have just reached the age of 18 can have an opportunity to register as well. Failing to vote is actually allowing that other person that you really didn't like to become your leader, to become your president. And this is why we end up in this kind of scenarios all the time.
Yes, and probably, Wakili, there's
Yes.
a bit too much of focus on the presidential candidates. Just before the show started, we're doing a quick poll here in studio because our crew is made up of fairly younger people.
Yes.
And one of them said they don't need to register because they don't have a presidential candidate. Do you think that probably the focus too much on presidential candidates and the fact that young people still do not have a candidate they can identify with could affect this process?
Yes, there are many reasons that people can be able to give for why they have not registered as voters, but some of the reasons may not be valid, for the simple reason that Article 38 of the Constitution, which deals with political rights, one of the most important things that it captures is the right to vote, the right to be voted for, the right to establish a political party. Now, all these, the major basic ingredient is registration as a voter. And therefore, one to say that nominations, as I said here, I believe a week or so ago, nominations will actually take place after the declaration of the start of the election season. This is going to be in February 2027. So you cannot say that you do not have a presidential candidate, because in law, you cannot have an election candidate, a presidential candidate before May 2027. The duty of the citizen, all citizens as of now, is to ensure that if you have not registered as a voter, you are actually registered. And number two, going forward, because we have 2 years where you may end up living in oppression, it makes a lot of sense, and it is good for yourself if, for example, the youth were to register in such huge numbers and everybody became aware that that would be the decisive vote in 2027, two things are going to happen. Number one is that the incumbent government will listen to you more, because they know the consequences within a year or so. And number two, even in the political parties, the established ones, you will also be able to take you seriously and now try to mainstream you more into the system. So there is everything going to ensure that you are registered as a voter. And equally importantly is that you would expect the leadership of the young, those people who are influential. Many of them appear to be very eloquent people who understand our political system and constitutional democracy. Democracy is only democracy when you can actually be able to participate in it. The constitutional precondition for participation in Kenya is a registration as a voter. Otherwise, you are just a spectator. But again, I would say it is too early to decide. There is, of course, need for more civic education to ensure, for example, people are able to understand that under the Kenyan Constitution, since it makes provision even for independent candidates, that it is actually possible. And I wish to affirm it today here, that if the youth can be able to say there is a youth Gen Z constituency as a Gen Z constituency, and you say you are going to support either that constituency or any other candidate, it is actually possible for you to decide who becomes president of Kenya. But that will not be under discussion if at the end of the day, when people look at the voter register, they see, well, we are dealing with the old demographics that is largely to vote tribal. If you want a new Kenya that elections are not tribal at the presidential level, the starting point is to say, Look at what the voter registrar is saying. We shall decide this thing.
We are dealing with a generation that is looking for quick wins. Yes. And last year they were hoping that something would happen immediately. Yes. It did not. Yes. And things actually took a different tangent with a broad-based arrangement. They were hoping that once IEBC comes into place, they'll be able to recall some members of parliament. And once that happened, they realized it was not possible.
Yeah.
Do you think that some of these things could actually cause apathy and probably push the younger generation into feeling waiting for 2 years is too long a period for them not even to bother with registration?
Remember, this regime has been around for 3 years and it looks like it took over yesterday. So 2 years is such a short period that I don't want any Kenyan to lose hope. There is always hope in the fact that you will be doing other things in between, and it's good to register. You may decide not to vote, but just make sure that you have registered. Should you get a good candidate the last minute, then you have that opportunity to make sure that the leadership of this country does change. But there are two problems, Fred, that I feel we should highlight and come out with clear program of addressing them. One, there is a slow process in terms of giving young people identification cards. This is something that is an imperative by the administration of the day, ensuring that these identification cards are given regardless of where somebody comes from, so that you don't skew the issuance of identification cards in a way that it favors the current regime or it favors any other person for that matter. The second issue, which I think we should disabuse ourselves of, is the fact that the rule of vetting people to make sure that all the people who get identification cards are Kenyans is something that has been going on since independence, especially on border counties, such as my county, Trans Nzoia, and many other border counties. It was disheartening to hear the president making it a political issue, as if the people of Mandera, the people of Northeastern, the old Northeastern, have been denied the chance to be like other Kenyans. It has been happening. Anybody coming from Kajiado, anybody coming from Narok, anybody coming from Bungoma, anybody coming from Busia, who border other countries, or even somebody from Moyale, or somebody from Turkana. That vetting process has been going on, and it's one way of ensuring that it's only Kenyans who register, unless somebody has been converted into a Kenyan through the constitutional process that you know. So it is something that I feel we should be more transparent as we approach the next general election, so that leaders can be trusted. You know, when you hear the president say that, and you know he's lying, and when you call him a liar, he says that you are going out of step with the reality. It is not true. Mr. President, I think it is better you lie less in the intervening period. Kenyans may give you a chance.
Right. But the politicians have also not been helping. Some of the pronouncements made, because the concern is, even if I register as a voter, will my vote count once I cast the ballot? That they will fill up the ballot boxes, they will rig in their candidates, and they're making this with so much bravado. This tends to give the young Kenyans a feeling that this entire process doesn't really matter.
I know. Fred, you know, that's fear peddling, and it happens all the time in politics, and especially, you know, the holders of power at that particular time, all the time, they will try to sell that fear so that the people in the opposition feel like they cannot unseat them. I want to say that some of the comments in the statement that have come from members of parliament and governors and senators and all that, and actually majority of them are very close to the current president. They are very unfortunate. You know, when you listen to like one lady who is, I think, a woman representative, and she said tutaiba kura. You know, it's really discouraging. And looking at where we are coming from, when you think about what happened in the year 2007, when there were claims that the elections had been leaked, the general election was leaked in favor of His Excellency Mwai Kibaki. We know what happened that time. So it's really unfortunate for our leaders to go out there and make such declarations. And I want to agree with you that that is one of the ways, or that is one of the reasons that could discourage the young people from coming out. But I want to speak as a young person and at the same time as a mother, and really encourage ourselves, everyone, that change must begin with us. Even just saying that we are not going to buy that fear, that's one good starting point. Now, if you look at the past and where we are coming from, and especially because we had a lot of hope and we really believe that this country is moving towards a better future, the young people were actually muzzled, and there were efforts to really silence them completely, totally. I was actually very encouraged yesterday when I saw a big group of young people who had gone to visit one of their own who has an ailing father in some place in Nyeri. And when I observed them as they moved in their vehicles, in their boda, in the matatus and everything, there's something that was very telling. They were still carrying the flag, the same way they did during the Gen Z demonstrations and the agitations. And that tells you that these people are not silent, they're organizing. They're organizing. And the worst thing that can happen is, on the side of government, is for them to assume that these people have been silenced and they will never come out again. They may just surprise us and tell us, you silenced us using the guns and all other unorthodox means, but now we are coming out to show you that we believed in this change and we are going to drive the change.
It is definitely a very expensive process. According to the story on page 9 of the Daily Nation, says that the voter registration alone will cost about 7 billion shillings. That's away from even the cost of the by-election that we expect and the cost of the election in 2027. But are we spending as much, or are we putting as much effort in as far as raising the level of awareness or civic engagement of the Kenyan populace that to make them understand the need for this?
Civic engagement occasionally can be done in an easier way and in a credible manner. You see, when you have IEBC, which had a problem of credibility, then when you say this is the one that will be able to engage in voter mobilization and in civic education, you may not get far enough. But it is possible to have collaborations, for example, with the media, with the credible civil society organization, to ensure that whatever messages you want to reach out there, actually that takes place. But again, if you do it in a manner in which the government of the day try to dominate that political space, now the problem of credibility would define your effectiveness in doing whatever that you want to do. So ultimately it will depend on how it will be done. Because, for example, there would be nothing wrong in saying like all the media stations would have dedicated 1 hour each in which people now who can be able to come and explain to people about all these things can be able to take place. But if you say you will do it in the baraza, you will just do the usual wazee who go to the baraza. You are not going to reach the target population. So, and it will not justify then the huge expenditure of money. And of course, there is a second related issue that elections in Kenya are very expensive compared to any other elections. Unfortunately, part of the reason why they fight over IEBC is that IEBC is a huge procurement scandal over the years. And you now be able to see again IEBC, because that's why you want to control who are the commissioners at the secretariat, giving the procurement project to the same people who are expected to be contestants in the election. So all these things are tied up regrettably. But going back to the important issue of vetting that was raised by Honorable Kirwa, I think that's an issue particularly in Northeastern. IEBC is supposed to register Kenyan citizens as registered voters. Now, that registrations of a Kenyan citizen as a voter it does not, for example, take away from you the right, for example, amongst your own official, if you are in Mandera and you are dealing with 1,000 people, all of whom cannot be able to communicate in Kiswahili or in English, you must also, now it is your responsibility to ask yourself the commonsensical questions. Is this a citizen of Kenya in any manner? Number two, at the level of records, because all Kenyans want to vote in 2027, there must be an issue where there is a correlation. Of course, IDs are given by the national government, where if you say that the new increment of voters across the country appears to be 20% per polling center or polling station, if suddenly there are areas showing 100 to 200 additional voter registration, then there must be a rational explanation what accounts for the difference. Because you expect, obviously, that the voter registration, the election officials must be coming from Mandera, because that is the way we do our elections. You are not going to have clerks from Kiambu being the voter, being responsible in Mandera for voter registration. So the IEBC means the IEBC from the top, the commission, up to the bottom, so that extra vigilance, particularly when you are being told that you are going to get people from Somalia, a foreign state. And I want to say here, it is actually treason for anybody to deliberately get citizens of another country to come and vote in Kenya. Whether you are president, you are an MP, or you are IEBC, it is treason to do that. And therefore, for the political parties also, we expect, now that the president and his supporters have said that we are going to get foreigners to come and vote in Kenya, they must also exercise, and the media, external vigilance to be able to watch there and see, are these Kenyans who are getting registered as voters? There are just a few areas. You don't expect people will come from Kismayu to come to Isiolo to register as voters. It is likely to be somewhere on the borderlines. So that is possible for all Kenyans to ensure the external vigilance, to ensure that if you are a Somali, you wait for voting in Somalia to decide the vote of Somalia. And of course the candidates and other people of Somalia. If you get foreigners, like the Egyptians got Mamluks, someday they will take over the leadership in Northeastern, because these are people with their own agenda. These people will not just come to vote for president, they'll come to decide every other vote. Right. So that if UDA brings people from Somalia to re-elect their president, they will also decide on all the other seats. So therefore, the first responsibility is for Kenyan Somali themselves to ensure we do not have imported voters from the Republic of Somalia.
Right. And these are just some of the concerns that Kenyans are raising as the continued voter registration exercise resumes officially this morning in a few minutes' time at 8 a.m. and it will continue up until 5 p.m. this evening and for the entire week going on back, because it is continuous voter registration. It's not for a short period of time. It's happening across all constituency offices except in areas currently with by-elections, the by-elections that will be held in November. Now you can register as a voter, you can correct or upgrade your voter details, you can transfer your voter registration to a new electoral area, and you can verify your voter details. All you need is an ID, and you need to be above 18 years of age. You need not have registered before as a voter. You need to have not been convicted of an election offense in the past 5 years, and also not have been declared to be of unsound mind. It's official. Get out and register as a voter. I want us to switch gears and talk about politics. And one of the